In both Attack of the Clones and the Clone Wars TV series, Count Dooku handled Anakin and Obi-Wan with ease. But why does it seem like Dooku was so weak in Revenge of the Sith? The answer might surprise you. Dooku wasn't actually weak in Revenge of the Sith. He just looked weaker compared to his earlier feats. At this point, Dooku was still very powerful, but the Sith Lord was now 83 years old. We saw Jedi such as Qui-Gon Jinn who got tired out by Darth Maul during their duel in Naboo, while being 60 years old in the original script for The Phantom Menace, which is 23 years younger than Dooku was in Revenge of the Sith. Yoda, who was over 900 years old, was still incredibly powerful, but not great in long drawn-out fights. While fatigue was a factor why Dooku seemed so weak, it wasn't the main reason. In his last duel against Obi-Wan and Anakin before Revenge of the Sith, which was a year prior to Episode 3, Dooku completely manhandled the two Jedi, and in this duel, it seemed like fatigue wasn't a factor at all. Dooku looked so powerful that he might only be rivaled by Yoda and Palpatine himself. Anakin and Dooku had many duels over the course of the Clone Wars, which each battle Anakin grew stronger. He became closer and closer to being able to best count Dooku, until eventually he did on the Invisible Hand during Episode 3. In the Revenge of the Sith novel, during his duel with Anakin and Obi-Wan in Episode 3, Dooku was worried that he might lose. He noted how Obi-Wan's defenses seemed almost impenetrable, but even early in the duel, Dooku was having trouble keeping up with Anakin from this passage here. With a flick of the wrist, Kenobi was sent flying backwards, crashing hard into the wall, but Dooku didn't have time to enjoy it. Skywalker was all over him. The shining blue lightsaber whirled and spat. Every overhand chop crashed against Dooku's defense with the unstoppable power of a meteor strike. The Sith Lord spent lavishly of his reserves of the Force merely to meet these attacks without being cut in half. And Skywalker was getting stronger. Each parry cost Dooku more power than he used to throw Kenobi across the room. Each block aged him a decade. He decided he'd best revise his strategy once again. He no longer even tried to strike back. Force exhaustion began to close his perceptions, drawing his consciousness back to his physical form. But Skywalker just kept on coming, tirelessly, ferociously. I did go into more detail about Dooku's loss to Anakin in another video if you want to check that one out. But this duel kinda reminds me of the Cars meme. Palpatine also instructed Dooku before the duel to try to turn Anakin, and that this would serve as a test for the young Skywalker to see if he was ready to embrace the dark side. Dooku played with Anakin's emotions, and eventually, when Anakin snapped and gave in to his fury, it was far too late for Dooku. Anakin's offensive onslaught and his aggressive fighting style were a bad matchup for Dooku at this point. Even just blocking Anakin's strikes required a ton of Dooku's energy. This duel was more about Anakin's strengths and ascension as a lightsaber duelist than Dooku being weak. Dooku wasn't just fighting a battle against Anakin and Obi-Wan, he was fighting a battle against time itself. He'd run his course and was about to be replaced as Palpatine's apprentice. Dooku is one of the more fascinating characters in all of Star Wars, and he really has an interesting story. When I was younger, I always thought he was kinda lame compared to all the other villains, but as I got older and the more I learned about him, the cooler he was to me. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think this duel has more to say about Dooku or Anakin? If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like and subscribe if you want to see more Star Wars videos. But anyway, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.